let's go with the money, like having more money conversations. Like how, because especially you being a personal finance coach, I imagine that you guys like the things that you learn is it's more like rapid. But what were those money conversations that you were having in the beginning? Those limiting beliefs that you noticed that you had about money, where it's like, okay, this is not okay, and I need to change it to this.
I think I probably like mirrored a lot of the same limiting beliefs that a lot of my clients, a lot of our community has.
Mm.
Is like, so my student loan debt. Oh, I'm just gonna be in debt forever. Like, oh well,
Mm.
I'll just be in debt forever. It's cool. We'll be together forever. Um, what else? Uh, I have no idea how to invest. Like, what the hell does that even mean?
Mm.
Like, oh, I'll just like, I mean, like my it gets taken out of my paycheck, so it's like taking care of itself, right?
Mm.
Um, I'll never be able to buy a house. Like I live in,
Mm.
never be able to buy a house. Those are the kinds of scripts, and that's what I call them. We call them really. I did not coin this term. Money scripts are a real thing, and they're usually rooted in childhood, based on like what we see.
Yeah.
And they're tied to those scripts, those little limiting beliefs that we have. I remember I had a friend of mine. She's like one of my closest friends. This was when I very first started like to get more educated
Mm.
on money in general. And I was like, hey, like, are you investing? Like, are you interested at all in investing? And then she just said, like, no, my family and I, we're not investor people. What does that mean? What do you mean
You
we're not
already closed down the whole
like,
possibility.
mm-hmm, exactly. Like, first of all, one, what is like I was just super interested in that. What is an investor person and what makes
Mm.
you not an investor person? And can we change that you're not an investor person? Right? These were some of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I'm hearing people talking about. Like, I don't have any room to save. Like, again, like I've been there. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing with my money. Like, all of these things we can fix. Like, we can talk about it. We can develop it, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
coaching I think is so cool. And um, so far I've been pretty successful in it. Is that we talk about your psychology a lot,
Mm. Yeah.
because effective money management really comes down to habit. Habit
Yeah.
is like understanding your psychology and like building
Mm-hmm.
effective like things that you do, like win this then this, win this then
Mm-hmm.
this, right? um and so yeah, it's been really interesting. It's been like so cool to see my own limiting beliefs like
Mm.
down. And a lot of people in my community also do the same thing, and like now they're
Mm.
asking, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but like, can you help me? I'm like, yeah, for sure, let's figure it out together.
Yeah. I think that's what I like about when we start learning more about this, because you create a ripple effect not only like to you but like to others who are around you, and you get to have those money conversations, and those terms, like I think like the limiting beliefs that we have is all about like self identity. Like, I'm not an investor. Well, like, of course you're not an investor because none of your family has done it. But then that doesn't mean you can't change your identity. And then the intention behind it, it's also like really important. I don't know. It's like I really do think it's a lot about the psychology as well, mindset, all of that, because that I think that's your foundation at the end of the day. So if you don't fix that, that's you're gonna keep on thinking that I'm not an investor. I can't buy a house. Like, oh well, I'm gonna be in debt the whole time.
And then at
Um,
that point it's like you're no better off than when you started. And for, again, a lot of the community that I work with, they always talk about, like, their parents came here for a better life, like,
yeah.
so, and in the reality of that is capitalism in the United States, like that's gonna mean like wealth accumulation, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
often tied to those two things. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, now when you were, can you give us like some examples of books or like even like podcasts that you were reading, because I know you put a post out there with all the book recommendations, like, oh, I read this one, I read this one, I read this one.
yeah, those are some of my favorite. I have so many. Okay, so it depends. I want to talk about, like, it depends on where you are in your financial journey.
Yeah.
Because the podcasts get really like nuanced and talking
Mm-hmm.
about numbers and like really what's the best strategy. And that might not be approachable to some people.
Yeah.
But you know because if you don't have the knowledge, the content knowledge, to access something, then it's going to feel overwhelming and you'll shut down.
Mm.
So I really like, in terms of like real estate, and there's also like a bigger pockets money They have different kinds. They have like a
Yeah.
bigger pockets. It tends to be for like real estate in general. And I think a lot of the times we forget that real estate is personal finance, but personal finance is not real estate, right?
Mm.
So whenever you buy real estate, that is obviously going to be a part of your personal finance plan, but not all personal finance has to be real estate. With that said,
Mm.
personally, I believe everybody should be homeowners, in some form of way. I think homeownership is like should be a right for all of us. Whether or not you live in the house that you buy, that's something,
Mm.
you know. But I think,
Yeah.
and there are, so sure there are certain situations where I guess it wouldn't make sense, like you move every year or something like that, you know. But I think that's a right that everybody should have. So bigger pockets is great. It can feel a little broy sometimes, but if you get past the bro, it's cool. Let's see, afford anything. I love Paula Pant. I think she's so cool.
Mm.
That's definitely a little bit more like nuanced stuff. So depending on your level, if you've got personal finance knowledge, or maybe you're a little bit plus, afford anything is great. And she coined that phrase
Mm.
of like you can afford anything but not everything. And
Mm.
it's really cool because like, hey, yeah, we can do this. You just have to be willing to say no to certain the things that you don't care that
Yeah. It goes back
much.
to intention.
Exactly. And then her first 100K, she's got
Mm.
financial fitness.
Tori.
Tori's
I
really
literally just have her book right now. Like
yeah,
I'm in the library, so I picked up my book and it's that one. Financial
nice.
Feminist.
Yeah, Financial Feminist is really good. I really liked that book. I read it. I think I pre-ordered it. I was like, yeah, I really like Tori a lot. And then there's also, I think it's Millennial Investing.
Mm.
They have they had Erin Lowry as a guest. Lowry, she's the one who wrote the Broke Millennial series.
Mm.
Um, and there's this one episode that I can't remember what it is, but where she talks about her third book is called Broke Millennial Talks Money. So it's on the importance of conversation
Mm.
with your parents. Like, hey, am I gonna have like how's your retirement looking? Am I subsidized? Like what, we have to know,
Yeah.
be able to talk about that so that we can get to an effective plan. Or with your partner, and the
Mm.
importance of maybe like prenups or postnups, which I know it's a little controversial. And also like with friends, like, hey, I can't afford a $3,000 bachelorette party, you
Mm.
know? And so I think that's really important because I think you mentioned it earlier, but the importance of talking to your immediate like family, friends, your little community about money, about your finances is huge
Yeah.
because we can all get better together and we can all like abide by our boundaries together. Like
Yeah.
if you can afford something at this point, or you don't want to allocate the money to that, you know what I mean? Because it's not something that you value, that should be fine. But if we don't
Mm.
have these conversations, we don't have that open communication, then somebody usually ends up feeling maybe a little resentful, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like those money conversations, like because we don't, at least in our community, because I'm Mexican, so in a Hispanic community or Mexican community, like we don't really, it's a kind of like taboo, or we don't
Habla
talk about
del
it.
tema.
Yeah,
No se habla
yeah,
no se habla, yeah.
yeah. So I think it's really important to start normalizing those conversations. And it's funny because in the beginning you mentioned how you should talk to your friends about it too, and we had a Galentine's in February, and one of the questions I asked them, oh, like, do you guys have a high yield savings account? And some of them were like, no, and then others were like, what is that? I'm like, this is my time to teach.
I mean,
So
fine.
yes, because now they know what it is. Now I don't know if they got it or not. That's on them. But like now I'm able to tell them like, okay,
Give them the information.
yeah, so now you could use that or not, but it's giving that information and helping them out too. So yeah, normalizing those conversations
Yeah. And
is important.
I know that you are a lot into, excuse me, you're into like mindset a lot. It's
Yeah.
called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. I loved it. I loved it a lot. It's really short, like you could probably read it in like a day. All about like that mindset. Um, yeah, Happy Pocket Full of Money, and gosh, what was that other one called? Hold on, let me, I have a,
And
it
I
was,
think I will also like recommend those who are listening, like if you could go get a library card,
oh my God.
like go get one, because you could get I had the library that I have, it has an app, and they have like little apps where they're like partnered with. So
Yeah.
I was able to get audiobooks from them. So literally this past 2 days, I listened to 3 books already, and
Yeah.
and I didn't have to pay for nothing. And that's like the whole point of like the library. Like I really do recommend. I wish
Exactly.
the, I wish the library would sponsor this, but maybe in the future.
I know, right? The library is so great. I actually when I had my interview on Wednesday, I mentioned like, hey, get a library card, go to the library. And it's just, oh my God, like, yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why we don't do that. And then
Hmm.
there's this, because a lot of us maybe have different library cards. Maybe we've
Yeah.
moved. So Libby is an app where you can add in all of your
Mm.
cards. And so then you can put in like, hey, this book, and maybe your library in LA doesn't have it, but my library in Tucson has it. And
Yeah.
so borrow the book and play to my Kindle and stuff, or the audio book, like you
Mm.
mentioned. Cool. Um, I think it's called Miracle Morning is also a really good
Miracle,
one.
Miracle Morning.
There's one
Yeah.
here.
Some other books that I personally read is like The Psychology of Money,
Mm-hmm.
The Richest Man of Babylon.
Babylon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What else? Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's a lot of like first time readers like who get into that. That's like where they start usually.
Yeah.
Um, the
Rich
thing.
Dad Poor Dad is good. Um, the author is a little intense. um, yeah. So if you want to know the principles a lot, Richest Man in Babylon is basically the
Mm,
same principles that
yeah.
Rich Dad has, but maybe not as abrasive of an author. Yeah. I listened to a podcast. I like because I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and I was like, oh, I like this book. Like, vibe. And then I listened to him, he was a guest on a Bigger Pockets podcast. I had to turn it off.
Really.
Yeah. It was just like he just says things like, you have a PhD, you're an idiot. And I'm like, okay.
Oh
Like,
really?
yeah, it's just really intense. Um, and then a lot of people know Dave Ramsey, right? Um,
Mm,
Dave Ramsey is big. He does like Total Money Makeover, and he's big on like the save $1,000 and then do the debt avalanche or debt snowball.
mm,
And I think Dave Ramsey was great, but at the same time, he might be a little bit of a product of his time.
mm.
Uh, I just think
Yeah.
that the context of young people now and what we are facing is different.
Mm. It's
He's
different.
extremely debt averse, for example. Like, you should never have credit cards and you should be like pay cash for everything. And it's like,
Cash,
how,
or I don't have cash at all.
like, homie, or, like, yeah, like a wire transfer or something. But like, how, I live in Los Angeles. You think that I'm going to get to a point, like me, a regular person, is going to get to a point where I could just have like $1 million cash to buy a house
A
or
house.
something like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's just